Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle for Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook here on the McGrath streaming podcast project. I got it right this time, Brian, if you're there.
Well, the word project, McGrath streaming podcast. Why do we have to add in the word project? It's hard to remember. I'm not against the words itself. It's harder to remember the extra words.
I'll get it right eventually. But welcome my co-host this morning, Jack Hirsch, boxing Hall of Fame boxing writer, all-around sports guru. How are you today, Jack?
Hey, good. There's so much to talk about, Keith. I got a day-night doubleheader. You know, I got my Glovefish show, 7 p.m. Eastern time for the best in boxing. A lot of great boxing talk, a lot of big football talk, big baseball talk today.
I don't know how you keep this pace up. Look at everybody here this morning. James is here early. Danny's here at 5 a.m. Great job, Danny.
I got a good memory. No.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
Sports memory. I think I do at least.
Oh, is that what? I didn't read the. There we go. Jack did it.
Well, it's hard to remember. I do have a selective memory with the Jets. I can't remember anything.
Oh, Jesus.
I guess you're right on that point.
You know who's going to have a selective memory? Is Notre Dame's probably going to want to forget about this last go-around of the selection committee for the college football playoff. We waited with bated breath for this. And listen, as a Miami fan, I think Notre Dame's got a gripe. I think both Miami and Notre Dame ought to be in this field. But Notre Dame ends up the odd man out. And listen, there are gripes I get. Why do we have ratings if you're just going to rate people ahead of somebody and then the last week you just drop them behind them? I don't get it.
Yeah.
They should be out, number one. But Indiana, Ohio State 1 and 2, they put them on opposite sides of the bracket. Smart move by the committee, I think. There's something with that I want to talk about afterwards. What's your thought on this field overall? Notre Dame and BYU, the first two teams out.
I mean, we knew there was going to be controversy. How do you avoid controversy? We knew the morning after there were going to be certain complaints. Heck, even Duke is complaining with their 5 losses that they should have gotten in, pointing to strength of schedule, what they accomplished. Look, Notre Dame was an independent. I kind of wonder, was being an independent, did it work against them in the long run? Because they have such a great reputation, a legendary reputation being Notre Dame, that you'd think they could afford to be an independent, go that way, and they'd be selected just based on their name alone. They lost their first 2 games of the year, Keith. Then they ran the table with double-digit victories the rest of the way. I mean, what more could they have done after a couple of weeks?
You make a good point, and I got to give Danny Fuller credit for this because he brought this up, probably over a month ago on one of my shows, probably the College Football Huddle, that Notre Dame, this is a place where the NCAA and this committee could send a message to Notre Dame about not being in a league because, quite frankly, if Notre Dame was in any one of these leagues, they'd be in.
But the way Notre Dame is fighting back now, refusing to have a bowl game because they're more or less letting the powers that be, you're not going to get extra revenue in our back. We're doing this out of protest. So many other, kind of keep this going.
But they're cutting their own nose off to spite their face, though, because they'd go to a New Year's Day bowl where they're going to get $10 million and it's all theirs. Plus, they get to practice for, another month, which you can't do now. I think it's a little short-sighted on Notre Dame's point. And they're not the only one. In their defense, they're not the only team that's pulled out. Like 5 teams have pulled out of bowl game consideration.
But logically, the way the system was set up, between Notre Dame, Miami, and Alabama, one of them was going to be a casualty, and all likely, but one of them. Yeah. And I guess they went strength of schedule because Miami beat Notre Dame by 3 points early in the year. And they used that as a tiebreaker, even though Notre Dame's overall qualifications or stats or whatever you want to call it were tiny bit superior to Miami's. And they didn't hold it against Alabama. And I would have held it against Alabama the way they lost to Georgia. I mean, I know I'm the first one who says there are no moral victories, but there's a difference between getting semi-blown out the way Alabama was against Georgia or losing on a field goal at the end of the game.
Well, the committee also says that they don't punish people for playing an extra game by playing the conference championship, but that's not true. They've done it multiple times now. They did it to BYU, but BYU really wasn't in this field anyway because they were already the 11th team. It would have been the first one out. But, you know,
why was BYU's situation different from Alabama?
Well, they
because
were.
Alabama's got the big name, they're the big ticket school. BYU isn't.
Well, they didn't punish BYU because they finished. Where's my ranking here? They finished 12th. So they were in the top 12. They dropped them one slot. They would have been out. If they stayed at 11, they still would have been out of this field because you had to move two automatic bids into that 11 and 12 spot.
Well, I think the problem with Notre Dame and the controversy going on, they were rated a top 12 team all along. The furthest they fell was number 11. So they basically were led to believe all along that being a top 12 team with these weekly ratings, that they were going to be in the playoffs. And then they get pulled. How did they fall out of the top 12 at the end? They were like a runner leading the race the whole way. And with, 2 feet to go, someone nips them at the finish line. But what did they do wrong, Notre Dame? They were rated all along in the top 12.
Okay, well, that's the thing. And the committee has kind of hinted all along that if they could get Notre Dame and Miami like right next to each other, that they would use the head-to-head as a tiebreaker. Well, if it's a tiebreaker when you're 9 and 10, I'm sorry, 10 and 11, why isn't Miami ahead of them already? It makes no sense. And as you said, we watched 4 or 5 weeks of. Why are people even watching these reveals on Tuesday night when they just, as you just said, turn around and totally reverse themselves on the final?
Hey, kid, but I could play devil's advocate, and this happens all the time. If you eliminate the Miami-Notre Dame game, then Notre Dame has a better record technically. If you eliminate that game, delete that game from the record.
But they would have played somebody else. So again, that though is the argument for why am I playing these marquee non-conference games early in the season? Why even play them if they don't matter? And obviously the committee said they matter to Miami.
And something is out of whack here. Not that I totally disagree. You take a school like Tulane, who's in. They lose to the likes of Connecticut early in the year, yet they were in the playoffs.
Well, that's
and Connecticut couldn't even be a sparring partner for a few of these schools.
I think what's going to happen, unfortunately, is whenever they make another change, which I think they can do as soon as maybe next year, they can expand this field. They can make other changes.
It's not basketball. They got to play these games as wins. Yeah.
Let me finish. They're going to expand it. Doesn't matter. It's going to go to 14. It's going to go to 16. It's going to go to something. But the bigger problem for the group of fives is the more of these marquee teams they feel like they've gotten left out, the SEC and the Big Ten is not going to say, okay, we'll let them in. They're not going to get it at all. The Tulanes and James Madisons eventually are not going to be in this field at all. James actually talks about here somewhere about the group of five and the Power Four should have separate playoff brackets. Listen, I still want all the conference champions in. You can play another week of football, by the way. You could easily put in
You can extend to 16 teams. You eliminate the bye for the 4 teams. The 4 teams that are getting a bye in this format, let them play like the other teams. Go to first-rated team plays the 16th, second plays 15th, and do like a strength of standings.
Why not do? Why can't they consider? And I was comparing it to golf because again, Danny yesterday, who's been full of brilliant ideas when it comes to this, they should have play-ins when there's going to be a log jam at the back end for that last spot or last 2 spots. Why not have play-in games? So I thought about why not golf? Here's the cut mark. It's 12 teams, and everybody at number 12 or tied gets in, and then you got to play off until you get there. Why not play it?
You can't.
Why?
This isn't basketball or baseball. This is football. It's a very physical game. They can only play so much football. You can't extend it. Look, the NCAA basketball tournament, the championship game is the 6th game for both teams.
Yeah.
You can't have that in football. You can't have them keep playing on top of the season. And these are students on top of it. Hey, the schedule is hard enough if you're an NFL player and then you're doing it full time. There's students as well.
Let's forget the student part of it, because none of these guys are actually killing themselves going to school. Please, this is a professional football league now. That's what it is. They aren't student athletes anymore. They're athletes.
Not everyone's getting paid. Most of the guys aren't getting paid. They're getting scholarships, but they still have to go to class.
Nobody's worried about going to class in the NCAA football in January for frickin' 70 years, 100 years. I mean, good gosh. Let me see. We got a couple. I got a couple of comments. Let's just see what we got here. I probably left a couple out. If I missed something, I apologize.
Tulane is my dark horse, by the way.
There you go. I think it would solve some of these problems by not having a preseason poll. The preseason poll, yes, but the problem is that wouldn't solve everything, because you still got rankings for 12 weeks before that.
It's too much fun not to have a preseason poll.
What about
That's one of the things people look forward to.
Why do we need the Tuesday night show for 4 or 5 weeks? We don't need it. We obviously, because if they didn't reveal that any of that poll, any of their information until yesterday, Oklahoma's not in this field, by the way. If we don't know, if they are never ranked, they're not in this field. If it was just revealed yesterday, guaranteed.
No, I don't think that would work, not having the polls beforehand, because people would get completely blindsided.
Morning, Chris. You can only send so. I understand. It's a very violent game. It would be rigorous.
Exactly what Jay Train is saying. That's exactly what I just said. Exactly. Good point.
A bunch of these kids are going to go play 17 and 18 games next year. So, I mean.
And yeah, and keep in mind, a number of them aren't as physically developed as they're going to be a few years later on. You have your share kids 18 and 19 years old playing.
Yeah. There is an argument there. I think there are ways around this. Danny talks about playing games. So JMU and Tulane's of the world will be out by the time we get to the real games.
Yeah, but you also want it to be fun. You want to give these other universities hope. I mean, technically speaking, if you want to find the best school, don't even have a playoff. Just, in any sport, don't have playoffs. Just have a regular season. I mean, we were discussing it yesterday on our Sunday football show. One of the divisions that's weak in the NFL, they shouldn't be allowed in the playoffs with a mediocre record. But you know your requirements beforehand, and they're fulfilled. It's luck of the draw at times.
Do you know the requirements? Because it's a moving target all the time with the requirements.
Oh, in college football, it is a moving target.
Oh, you're talking about
that it is.
Pros, right? Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that's got to go. You can't judge some teams one way. We judge this team on head-to-head. We judge this team on strength of schedule. We judge this team on the eye test. How about we judge everybody the same way? We don't do it.
And, I don't like the attitude, too, with Alabama not holding it against them. Well, they played an extra game. They didn't have to. Then don't play the darn game. You're taking a risk. You're taking a risk by playing the extra game.
You can't not show up.
And you have to face the consequences. You get semi-blown out. You should face the consequences. It's their third loss. And they
game, though. You
they
can't
lost their last two, right, Alabama? Their last two games.
I can't remember I think they did.
Right. So, in other words, they backed into the playoffs as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I could say that about Miami as well, but.
Well, Miami's, but Alabama's the team with the big reputation.
There's a couple of things with this bracket, too. Miami, by the way, they got in, but they've got a monster road to get to the final. They start with A&M. If they win, they're going to get Ohio State, and then they're going to get.
Don't sell Carson Beck short.
They're going to have to. It'd be interesting to get to the semifinal and play Georgia in the semifinal. That'd be interesting.
Georgia's looking good. They look good against Bama.
They played really, really well.
Yeah. Ferocious defense.
The other anomaly with having this 12-team bracket, a weird number, and buys is Indiana, who's a number one seed, has no shot to play the worst 3 seeded teams in this tournament. They have no shot at them at all.
It kind of makes you wonder, where's the reward for being the number one seed?
Just
having the best record. Where's the reward?
There's not much.
Going unbeaten.
They really should reseed the teams that win.
Yeah,
in the
that
first.
I agree with.
And again, Tulane's probably not going to win. James Madison's probably not going to win. That doesn't matter. But they got no shot at Miami. Miami's going to go to Ohio State.
No, I think with seeding, there should be a common sense committee. I mean, I'm sure that's not going to be the name, the common sense committee. You rate them 1 to 12 on how good you think they are. And the top seeded team plays the 12th team, second place 11th, third place 10th. So, for example, who would Indiana play? Or maybe the Common Sense Committee would make Ohio State number 1, regardless of the record. Then Indiana would be number 2.
Probably. Common sense. It's hard for me to look at the NCAA and think common sense. It's hard to even have.
Tulane would play Georgia, something like that.
Well,
you're not doing it by geography at all. Just
I think playing games is the way to go. I think go, and Danny's right. I think within a couple of years you're going to have 24 teams and they're going to play one more week of football. That's all they're going to play is one more week. So
they're having flag football in the Summer Olympics, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean,
who cares?
Who cares? Yeah, who cares? It might be fun because they're going to have big name players. Tom Brady's playing in the Olympics, right?
He's talked about it. I
don't come back. Can you imagine he looks good and he wants to come back? He won't be any worse than any of the Raider quarterbacks now.
And when
he's part owner of the Raiders, by the way.
And when I say who cares, Chris, I don't mean about the question is a good one, but I don't think football itself, the way it's played, is really going to be conducive to play in the Olympics. I mean, I don't know how you'd really figure that out because the Olympics only last 2 weeks. So how are you going to play that many games? And who cares about flag football? And by the way, let's touch on it for 1 second. I know I'm off track, but this whole flag football thing and Tom Brady playing or whoever, Patrick Mahomes, there are professional flag football players. There are people who do that are going to be better at that game than Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. They play the game. It's not the NFL. It's not the same game. So
yeah, you sometimes have that certain. Even in basketball, you have certain players. They're not NBA caliber. They know these trick shots. They know how to dribble in a certain way, and they can make an NBA player look bad, but they're not good enough to play in the NBA. And you might get that at flag football if someone really specializes at it.
It's very true. And Chris, I commend you on the question because I have challenged him to come up with these types of questions.
Well, let's get off flag football. I mean, come on.
We'll get off flag football. Carson Beck comes up short on his own. Yeah, listen, Carson Beck hasn't played well. To me, the second half of the season has been very inconsistent. I mean, I can put a lot of the 2 losses in his hands, quite frankly. I mean, it's a team game. I get it. But he came up really short against Louisville and SMU as well. So,
but his game will transfer nicely to the NFL.
Yeah. And as far as you know what? James had a question here. I want to go back to it. If I can hear it, it's right here. The bowl game and Notre Dame dropping out. The bowl games, Rick Sherlock had a question on the Sunday Stream of Consciousness yesterday. What team is going to be the team that everybody just opts out of the games? You know who it's going to be? Not the playoff. During the bowl games, everybody's going to have a bunch of guys opt out. Nobody's going to play in these games. That's why.
That's not true at all. I mean, I agree with the statement about a lot of them becoming obsolete, but they're obsolete in the minds of a lot of the public. But they mean a lot to the university. They mean a lot to the players.
They don't mean a lot
to the players. They like the idea of having center stage. Yeah, having a certain specific bowl game to play.
They matter for one reason now, is that those teams get to continue to practice until that bowl game. And so they get
right. The players like it. The kids like it a lot. It does mean a lot to them.
Not the kids who opt out. I mean, you see 30 guys opt out of here. And now you got 5 teams already.
I'm not talking about the top players, the smallest schools. The smallest schools.
Florida State 2 years ago had 20-plus guys opt out. That's not all their top guys. And 5 teams now that were bowl eligible have dropped out. You're going to see a bunch of 5 and 7.
They're a major school, and teams that have had a disappointing season want to end it on a high note. For example, I'll give you like Clemson, for example. I assume they're in the bowl game, right?
They will be.
They will be.
They have
Don't you think a school like Clemson, who's had a highly disappointing season, would like the bowl game to finish on a semi-high note at least?
Probably, but I can tell you, here's a team. Kansas State is a team that had a disappointing season. They opted out. So, I mean, Iowa State has opted out. These are teams that are, fairly big names still in the world of college football.
You compare to basketball teams that don't make the NCAA tournament. Some opt out of the NIT.
That's
some
different.
elect to play.
I guess it's not different. I guess this is on the same level. I mean,
the NIT, there's not a great amount of glory, winning that tournament, but it does make the team that wins it play really, really, that makes them feel good.
Well, we're also getting up with a bunch of 5 and 7 teams because they have to fill the fields out. Which who wants to watch those teams play? By the way, the Big 12 fined Kansas State and Iowa State both $500,000 for deciding not to participate in a bowl game. It cost the rest of the.
What was their reason not to participate?
What's that?
What was their reason that they gave for not participating?
My guess is going to be, and I don't know this for a fact, is they both have coaching changes on those two teams. I think Memphis might have decided too. Every team that I know of, except Notre Dame that's opted out, has got a new coach coming in. So that might be why.
Yeah.
Their old coaches left. So that might be why. But they also, that's the other thing. When you decide not to play, unless you're Notre Dame, you're costing the rest.
Notre Dame is opting out of protest.
I understand.
Protest.
I understand. That's not my point.
Notre Dame should have accepted a bowl bid. They could have made a statement. I understand what they did. Accept a bowl bid, destroy your opponent, and then make a statement to make the committee look bad. That you should have taken us.
I would have played because, again, to your point before, now you hurt your players that can practice. Again, a bunch of guys would have opted out anyway, the seniors probably, whatever. But it gives those younger kids a chance to practice for another month. They would have got a New Year's Day bowl game, and they would have got a $10 million payday. It just makes no sense for them to do. It's spiteful, and they hurt themselves. Maybe $10 million doesn't matter to them.
I don't know if it's spiteful. I think they were hurt. They were shocked, but they shouldn't have been shocked. We knew there was a chance they wouldn't get accepted. I thought they would because they're Notre Dame, that they're not going to be left out. But like I said earlier, it came down between them, Alabama, and Miami. And out of the three, I thought Notre Dame would be the least likely to be left out. That was just me because of the way Alabama lost to Georgia. And, Miami and Notre Dame were close, but Notre Dame has a little more the tradition, of course.
Yes, Jay traded with a great point that the Duke's Mayo Bowl takes center stage now here until we get to the playoff. It's been getting worse over the years. Many kids are opting out. Now we have teams opting out. And again, I'm glad the leagues are finding these teams because, again, they're costing everybody in the conference money. So anyway, I know you don't want to see them get rolled over. Listen, I'm glad those teams get a chance, Tulane and James Madison, but they're going to get beat up. We'll be talking about this a lot over the next few weeks. I'm sure Friday we'll have some more conversation. Jack and I will get into some picks. We won't pick any of these crappy bowl games. We'll wait till we get to the real games of the playoffs. Jack and I will pick some games again. Real quick, we both went 5-4 yesterday, or this weekend in the conference championship games. Jack is at 23-26, and I pulled to even somehow at 25-25. You'll still have a chance yet, Jack.
I don't think I could do worse if I tried to tank the games deliberately, get them wrong. I'd be doing better, actually.
It's just as hard to pick losers as it is. Right? All right. Let's move on to the NFL and yesterday's action. Some interesting stuff. Listen, everybody, we all seem to keep disrespecting and hating on Jacksonville, and they keep winning games. They won their 9th game yesterday. They're in first place. Indiana, which was such a Cinderella story early in the year, looks like it's all going to come crashing down now because their playoff hopes are in serious jeopardy with Daniel Jones gone for the rest of the year and Riley Leonard, the quarterback. Speaking of
the NFL is like the stock market in a sense. If you're very patient, when teams are overachieving and doing great, much better than you thought they were going to do, be patient. Eventually, they'll come somewhat down to earth, and the Indianapolis Colts were like that. They look like a lock to be in the playoffs. They give up 2 number 1 draft picks for Sauce Gardner and Adonai Mitchell, as well, because they were all in to make a bid for the Super Bowl. They might wind up with an 8-9 record, even a 9-8. They don't look like they're making the playoffs, and my heart goes out to Daniel Jones. I mean, I haven't been the biggest Daniel Jones fan because I think people went fantasy land early in the year when he was having some success, treating him like he was an elite quarterback, and all the hoopla, but to see him get hurt like that. But with that, and Anthony Richardson, the man gets hurt in the locker room and he's missing action. They needed Anthony Richardson now. A healthy Anthony Richardson who had experience maybe would have patched things up for the Colts and they could have made a late run. But now they got Riley Leonard.
I'm not sure.
Riley Leonard running the offensive quarterback.
You're going to see a heavy dose of Jonathan Taylor and hopefully some good defense. That's their own.
Jonathan Taylor slowed down. He's no longer the MVP to me. But the good thing is Daniel Jones, the type injury he had, takes about 9 months to recover from approximately. Somewhere he might be ready at the beginning of next season. He might not. It's 50-50.
I think it's going to be very close. Yeah.
It's close. 50-50. I think the Colts re-sign him. They keep Anthony Richardson. Richardson, who's quarterbacked enough games to have a full training camp. And I think they kind of run it back next year. They kind of run it back.
Riley Leonard played okay yesterday against Jacksonville. Riley Leonard's not leading this team to the playoffs, I don't think. I just don't see it.
Really played okay. I mean, for third string quarterback, whatever. But Jacksonville, I'm no longer calling them dysfunctional. They're a good team. Really good team there. Trevor Lawrence, let's call him a decent quarterback now. Not elite, let's call him a decent quarterback. You could win with Trevor Lawrence, and they are winning with him.
They are, and they're finding a way. Look, they got 9 wins. Again, Danny always reminds me, I say you are what your record says you are, and that's kind of, they're 9-4 and leading that division. Watch out for Wilson, though.
The Colts still got the division wrapped up, and now both the Jaguars and the Texans are just running right past them, leaving them in the dust. It's going to be a third-place team that's not going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah. Quick good morning to John Gonzalez from the Sports Authority. It's good to see you, John. And Sonia's with us and sharing the show. Thank you, Sonia. Good to see you. And we'll get to your Carolina team in a second. And then John's got a comment about Carolina. Let's stick with the Texans, also in this division. The Texans knock off the Chiefs and put the Chiefs on life support now at 6-7.
Chiefs are done. Yeah, they could.
Mathematically, they're not, but they look done.
Chiefs will win their next 4 games. They're not getting in the playoffs. It's unlikely. It's possible, but it's unlikely even if they go 4-0 at this point.
Who would have thought a few weeks ago that the Chiefs would have the same record right now as the Miami Dolphins, who win again yesterday against your Jets? Sorry about that, but McDaniel's done a decent job getting this team righted. Again, they're not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. They can get there. Right now.
No, I think in this league, though, even though I'm discarding the Chiefs' chances and I'm not taking the Dolphins seriously as far as getting the playoffs, you really do have to take it 1 week at a time. Things could change a lot in 1 week. A team that seems out of it, they can win on a given week, and everyone ahead of them who they need to lose could lose, and all of a sudden it can open up a possibility. I mean, who even would have thought with the Texans when they were 3-5? The Texans started 0-3, right?
0-3.
0-3. Who thought they'd be in the position they're now? I mean, who would have thought that?
Hey, look at that. Look at the game. Still, if you play good defense, you don't need to really have a high-powered offense, which they don't. You need to score points once you get to playoffs for sure, but. This team would be dangerous if they got in, I think. I don't know.
Nico Collins, C.J. Stroud, to regain this form.
The running game is a problem there. The running game is
the Texan defense is second to none.
Other games of interest yesterday. Well, since John brought it up, let me and Sonia's here. Carolina is I think Carolina's now. Are they tied or are they in first place with Tampa
Well,
Bay?
they're tied. They're both 7-6. Them and Tampa Bay, a 7-6. They play each a couple more times. Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
How they lost in New Orleans, that's an absolute disgrace. No disrespect in New Orleans, but if you're Tampa Bay, you got to win games like this. Give me a break. I don't want to hear they maybe took New Orleans a little lightly, not the way they've been playing, and especially since Tampa Bay's starting to get healthier, to lose a game like this. The good thing about this for Tampa Bay, they have a quick turnaround. They play Thursday night. They host the Atlanta Falcons, who've been dreadful as of late. And their special teams coach has been awful. They've been awful in special teams. They've been awful in all facets of the game. So Tampa Bay, I don't want to say assuming, but if they do what they should absolutely do, beat the Falcons on Thursday night, they'll be a half game ahead of Carolina. At least you're in a better mindset. And now Carolina plays New Orleans on Sunday, and you would think Carolina should win that game, but nothing's a gimme because look, the Saints upset the Buccaneers. This is the elephant in the room for the Carolina Panthers. Not the two games they have with the Buccaneers. Assume they split those two games. They each have another game remaining, and that other game would be the Panthers are visiting the Seattle Seahawks. That's going to be a very tough game to win. And the Buccaneers are visiting the Miami Dolphins. That's a more winnable game than winning in Seattle, I think. But then again, the Dolphins have won 4 in a row. So maybe the Dolphin game would be a little harder for the Buccaneers than the Seahawks game would be for the Panthers. Otherwise, they play each other, twice. Obviously, if either the Buccaneers or I am high on the Bucs still, believe it or not. I'm just ticked off at them. They're like the stock market. They'll come back.
They have bad football last month.
Yeah, the Buccaneers or the Panthers, you don't discount either winning both games head-to-head. If whoever wins both games head-to-head obviously wins the division. But, we'd assume the law of averages say that they're going to split, and it's going to come down in part to the Panthers at Seattle and the Buccaneers at Miami.
What's shocking about Tampa Bay to me is they played better when everybody was hurt. People are getting healthy now, and they're playing worse. Right?
They'll come back, Tampa. Tampa's going to come back. But then again, Carolina, I said would go 8-9 before the season began. If they go 9-8, it's not a big difference. 8-9, 9-8. I'm not wrong. If they go 9-8 instead of 8-9, if they go 10-7, then I'm absolutely wrong about them. Then I underestimate them. Clearly better than I thought. 10-7 is going to win that division. By the way.
Maybe less. I mean, that's
but
10-1. That's going.
But the way the Buccaneers are playing, they could lose both games to the Panthers. Absolutely. I'm assuming the Bucs turn a switch and get it back together.
God, Sonia and her Carolina. I don't know how they're not winning the tiebreaker right now.
The Panthers are home against Seattle. I didn't realize that. Okay. That increases the Panthers' chances, absolutely. Seattle's a hard place to win at.
Seattle, who knows what their situation might be? They might not even be playing people that last week. Who knows? So.
No, it's not the last week. The last week of the season, the Panthers play at Tampa Bay.
Oh, right.
I guess the best case scenario for the Buccaneers, that game decides the division title. One game at Tampa Bay, the Panthers have to come to them. At this point, that would seem to be a scenario I think they would sign up for, the one and done.
I think they'd both sign up for that to get to that game. Danny, I agree. I think that right now, these two might be the best two teams in the NFL, regardless of my team having the best record.
They were chanting, the fans, for Matthew Stafford, MVP. Yesterday.
Another great.
Really, the MVP of the league, the NFL, to me, is Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen carries that team on his back. Matthew Stafford has been great. Okay, definitely his name should be brought up, should be mentioned. He's one of the top candidates. Josh, I don't want to hear whether you won the division or not. This Buffalo Bill team would be nowhere without Josh Allen. He carries that team on his back. Watching the game yesterday, he did it again.
Yeah, they were trying every day they could do to lose that game.
Josh Allen, the plays he makes.
He is. I agree with you. He's the best player in the game right now for sure.
Yeah, he's the best quarterback in football. Yeah. And I've got to redo, Keith, my quarterback ratings, because I always have this small bracket. Obviously, Mahomes, who's still there, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, who I still think is there, but he's hurt a lot, and Lamar Jackson. I might drop Lamar Jackson out of that bracket. Let him get healthy again and show he belongs there, because he didn't look good again yesterday. He looked bad again.
Bad performance from Burrow yesterday. He cost him that game with 2 interceptions on 2 consecutive plays late in that game. One was a first.
And Keith, this you might find a little distasteful, and a lot of other people will. When I talk about the top 10 quarterbacks, why not Aaron Rodgers? Why not?
He played well yesterday.
I mean, when you think about it, he looked good yesterday.
He did play well yesterday. I don't know. I just can't. I think a lot of it is personal bias against Rodgers and his goofiness.
Yeah.
See what else we got here. Jack is all about which teams jump on the momentum train.
It's back with momentum, and the momentum.
Jack is never going
to the last game. It changes. Look at the Dallas Cowboys. They beat the Eagles and the Chiefs back to back, and everyone's picking them, it seems, to beat the Lions because the Cowboys got the momentum. Come on.
Well, who are the teams that are always going to be favored to win in the playoffs? It's a team who play well in December. That's what? Momentum.
Good teams win most of their games. It's not momentum.
Good teams create momentum. They're not mutually exclusive, for crying out loud.
I don't think there's a history with. I know Sam Darnold was the starter at Carolina. He lost the job. I don't think there's the same history with Sam Darnold going to play at Carolina as there'd be if he played with the Vikings. Because I don't think anyone in Carolina is arguing, we should have never let go of Sam Darnold. He didn't play well. No one complained when the Panthers moved on from Sam Darnold and made Baker Mayfield the starter, too. There's more history with Mayfield. Darnold with Minnesota, a lot of people thought that maybe the Vikings should have held on to him.
So he had a bad game. People have bad games. Tom Brady threw 3 interceptions in games, too. I'm not comparing the two, but Sam Darnold was pretty good yesterday.
Darnold's had a good year. He's had a better year than I thought, actually. I thought he'd be adequate this year, but he's been better than adequate. He's been good.
I thought he was nuts for leaving the Vikings in that system. But
he didn't have a choice. What do you mean leaving the Vikings? They didn't franchise him and make him an offer.
They made him an offer, not one he was going to take.
Oh, no. Well, so then he shouldn't take it. You're unbelievable, Keith. You think a guy should leave $60 million on the table because he has better working conditions. You just retired. People in your office, if someone was going to triple their salary and they left, you'd say they were disloyal to the company that you were head of. Come on, get out of here.
Again, don't compare the real world to the world of sports, please. Come on. We're talking about...
No. The Bills cannot catch the Patriots for the simple reason the Patriots have the tiebreakers, even if the Bills beat them in the rematch and they wind up tied with the Patriots. Like I said, the Patriots then win the division. Those are going to be a wild card this year.
Let me ask you a question about your comments about leaving money on the table. So let's just say Daniel Jones. Let's just take a scenario where I'm looking for the worst to it. The Arizona Cardinals offered Daniel Jones $30 million more over 5 years than the Colts.
They're not giving him a 5-year deal. It's not realistic, Dan.
Forget about that. Just listen to my scenario and tell me whether he should go to Arizona for $30 more million or $10 more million, whatever number you want to throw out there for whatever many years. He's getting offered more from Arizona. than the Colts.
How much is the total package?
Let's just say they differ by $30 million.
No, okay, wait, okay. If
Over
Arizona's offering him $40 million and the Colts $10 million, then he should take the $40 million. If Arizona's offering him $180 million to the Colts $150 million, now you start thinking maybe I stay with the Colts. Maybe you get
$150 million or $100 probably. So when you're talking about tens of millions of dollars and you're over $100 million, how much more do I need? I'm staying in a better place where I can win.
Sam Darnold was offered $100 million for 3 years. It wasn't quite all guaranteed the back end. The Vikings could have franchised them. They could have. Darnold didn't have to go anywhere. Keep that in mind. They could have franchised them, and he wouldn't have been a free agent. He would have been a Minnesota Viking. Darnold knew he was on the clock as the starter for the Vikings. If he stayed with the Vikings, he'd have J.J. McCarthy looking over his shoulder as the heir apparent. Why would he want to do that, Keith?
Good point. Don't want to spend too much more time. We want to get to the Hall of Fame voting. If Josh Allen and the Bills win this weekend, look out for something. But yeah, listen, they're not going to win this weekend. They're going to lose in New England.
No, even if they win, like I said, the Patriots have the tiebreakers.
Yeah. 2-1 courtesy to Panthers on the Buccaneers. Maybe
Drake May's not an MVP candidate, so not over Josh Allen. I mean,
as much as I love Drake May and what he's done for this team, I'm taking Allen all day over Drake May. Great player. He's going to be a great player, too. Ravens and Lamar in trouble? Not yet. You know what I saw interesting yesterday watching this game is Lamar Jackson played more like Lamar Jackson yesterday. They let him run the football a little bit, too. He had a touchdown run. He ran for 30 or 40 yards, I think, in this game. And they hadn't been doing that. They were keeping him in the pocket to protect him. If he starts playing like Lamar and you have to now game plan for both the run and the pass with him, makes them a much tougher team to play. I wouldn't want to play him if they get to the playoffs. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. Yeah, well, they're 6-7 now. The Steelers are 7-6. They play the Steelers again. Talk about a damaging loss with Cincinnati. Had they won that game in Buffalo, they'd be 2 games behind the Steelers, and they play them again, and they have the tiebreaker, the Bengals. But now the Bengals are a long shot to win the division, a true long shot, being 3 games back. But the Ravens play the Steelers again. But the Ravens, when are they going to wake up? It looks like it's not going to happen this year. Lamar Jackson, we hear he's hurt, but do we expect this game to suddenly pick up? Lamar Jackson is the greatest running quarterback in the NFL, but he hasn't been that good of a running quarterback this year with taking off.
They've kept them in the pocket to keep him healthy because of injuries and such. But what do you think about the Lively call in the end zone yesterday? I thought it was a touchdown. I'm not sure. First of all, I don't know why he's
got the rules. I mean, as fans, we think it's a touchdown. We think it should be a touchdown. The Ravens would have won the game with that call.
There's also a rule where because they called it they originally called it a touchdown, and they did that quick review that they do now. They didn't allow John Harbaugh to challenge it because they'd already done a quick review, so he couldn't challenge. That's what he was going nuts over, and also thought Lively let go of the ball. I don't know if you saw the play. I saw it over and over again because I watched with a bunch of Steeler fans, and he just kind of on his third step, he just kind of went like this, and the guy's hand was coming at the same time, but he was letting go of the ball.
I became disillusioned many years ago when Calvin Johnson scored a touchdown that would have won a game for the Lions and kind of just released the ball, obvious touchdown, and they didn't count it.
Yeah, I agree. If Darnold needs to play good and meaningful games at some point.
Jets didn't give up weight to this with the Jets for years. Come on.
Yeah,
the Jets, 4 or 5 years, I forgot. But
Darnold
they didn't give up too soon on Sam Darnold.
Darnold would never
get out of here.
Stay with the Jets. I agree. But I'm not talking to Danny about Jet quarterbacks because I get in trouble with my Joe Namath comment, so I'm not going to say anything about that. What else? Anything else in the NFL that really sticks out for you, Jack, as I try to go through some of these comments quickly?
I mean, it's all the games. I mean, the Shador Sanders situation people like to talk about. You know, you wonder with Sean McDermott. He was a good coach for a while with Cleveland. They did make the playoffs a couple of years ago. He seemed to have lost it. I don't know what it is. If it's not the owner giving him instructions and he's just pulling the moves he has, and I know the owner didn't call down for the Wildcat play and the 2-point conversion. The thing about it is, why did they go for a 2-point conversion, the touchdown before that? Why didn't they kick the extra point? And if they kicked the extra point both times, the game would be in overtime.
Coaches and making these decisions are terrible right now.
And how did Cleveland defense gives up 161 yards to Tony Pollard, you know, in the Tennessee Titans rushing game? I mean, come on.
Bengals are done, I agree.
Yeah, the Bengals still have a small chance there, only because I can't trust the Steelers to necessarily even win another game this year. That's why. If the Bengals run the table, they'll go 8-9, and as crazy as it seems, 8-9 might still win that division. Not likely, but might.
Well, first of all, Megatron's was about 15 years ago, wasn't it?
That's what I said.
But I mean, again, nobody knows what the rule is. I think that's the problem. And I agree, by the way, I'll go back that far, Brian. Yeah, that was a catch. I agree.
Yeah, I'm the one, John, who said when Sam Darnold signed with the Minnesota Vikings, he was really going to have a big year. He's going to have an outstanding year. So I knew what I was looking at. I said that beforehand, not during the season. The moment the Vikings signed him, I nailed it.
I'm not sure, John, what you're asking me. He would have been doing this with the Jets, you're saying? I don't know. I'm not saying Darnold's no good. Nobody's saying Darnold's no good.
Darnold's a good quarterback. Darnold's a good quarterback.
He wouldn't be this guy with the Jets. He doesn't have the same system or the same player.
It's different. Look at Baker Mayfield. He flamed out with the Carolina Panthers, and he found success with the Buccaneers. It depends on your situation. Vince Young, the Panther quarterback now, he's been playing well as of late, but had he gone to another team and been developed differently, he might, at this moment, be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, conceivably.
Stefanski is done. I agree, Brian.
I would think so, but you never know what the owners think.
I like it. I keep saying forever. Him, if he wants, he better get on board with Shador, and the guy who replaces him better be on board with Shador, because that's who the owner wants to play, and that's who's going to play. So.
You know, Tyler Shuck, the Saints, you know, he's played well. I don't think the Saints need to look for their future quarterback, you know, if he finishes the season well.
I wouldn't be doing it in this draft because you probably aren't getting anybody better than him in the first round. These guys are okay, but they're not great franchise-changing quarterbacks that are coming out of the draft.
Not Mendoza?
He'll be okay. Is he a franchise-changing quarterback? No, he's no better.
Well, if you're the Raiders or the Jets, they both need quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And you're going 1-2 in the draft. Do you bypass them at those positions, Mendoza? That's the question I want to ask you. I don't know the answer.
I would, but I think we know my feelings about taking quarterbacks too soon. Will they take them? I think they probably will. Yeah.
But you don't think they should?
I don't. I like him. He's a nice player. He might be a decent NFL player. I don't think he's going to be, Peyton Manning or. That's the guys you ought to be taking in the first two picks, right? The Peyton Mannings of the world, not Fernando Mendoza. He's a great player in college. Should've had a good game. Again, Jay, you know what, James? I'm not going to go crazy over what he did because, as I said, he's going to be so polarizing that when he has a great game, we're going to go overboard, and when he has a bad game, we're going to go overboard. I want to see the whole body of work. I think he's got a chance to be a really good quarterback, but I'm not getting.
I'm going to tell you, we're going to get to baseball in a moment, but the Brown quarterback room next season, assuming they keep all their guys, it's going to be very interesting because they're paying Deshaun Watson big money. He's going to be one of the highest paid players in the NFL. And if he's completely healthy, it's going to be hard not to start Deshaun Watson. But if Shedeur Sanders finishes the season strongly, as Danny likes to talk about momentum, he's going to be the quarterback with the momentum, going into next season to start. And he'll be a more popular choice maybe with the fan base, the public. But it'll be interesting. poor Dylan Gabriel will be third string going into next season. And Dylan Gabriel is he's a competent quarterback. He's competent. Whether he's good enough to be a starter, that's debatable.
Arch Manning.
We should get the baseball.
We will. We just go through here quick. Arch Manning's not coming out, Sonia. That's going to be. If he did, he'd probably be the number one pick. By the way, I'm just saying. That's the way they do it. I agree with John here for sure. If he comes out, he'll be number one pick, but he shouldn't be.
Well, he would be number one based on potential, upside. Teams will project that in a couple of years he's going to be outstanding. They would be projecting.
You're rejecting all these guys. It's all a projection, right? We don't know who's going to be good and who's going to be a bust. It's impossible to know. But anyway, we're going to move on to baseball real quick. Not real quick, because I want to spend a few minutes with Jack talking about the Hall of Fame era committee yesterday is what we call it now, not the Veterans Committee. Jeff Kent gets 14 out of the 16. He needed 12 to get in. He's in. Congratulations to Jeff Kent. I think it's deserved, but boo hiss to this committee for only vote giving Don Mattingly 6 votes and Dale Murphy, in my mind, 6 votes.
We got to consider the positions players play. There's a premium value according to the positions. Obviously, outfielders, there's a big surplus. Second baseman, if I say this to you, or just off the top of your head, Keith, is Jeff Kent one of the 10 greatest second basemen in the history of Major League Baseball? You'd have to think of all the second basemen. It would take time. But off the top of your head, you wouldn't argue against it, would you?
No, I would not.
Exactly. So Jeff Kent he's worthy. I think he's worthy. Is he an all-time great player? No, of course not. But is he worthy in the Hall of the Very Good? He's more. You could argue he's more than very good.
97 to 05, he's the best second baseman in baseball, without a doubt. He finished I want to say he finished 4 times in the top 10 for the MVP, won 1 year, 6 times in the top 20. This guy, and he's an all-time leading home run hitter for second baseman. Not the great defensive player, maybe not the best guy in the clubhouse, but he's a Hall of Famer, and I think he might be top 5 second baseman all time. He's a great player. Was a great player.
He benefited in a way by hitting behind Barry Bonds on the Giants.
Without a doubt,
everyone benefits that way. We talk about Roger Maris's home run record of 61. Well, he hit behind Mickey Mantle. Yeah. Okay.
Those things matter.
I'm sorry. He hit in front of Mickey Mantle. I'm sorry.
He did. Yeah. Well, you're never going to walk, right? You're never going to walk hitting in front of Mantle. You're never going to walk. Well, you're going to have Bonds.
Maybe I got it mixed up with Kent. Did he hit it in front of Bonds? Wait a second.
I think he hit behind him. I think.
Yeah. But and Roger Maris was never intentionally walked all season long.
Oh, would you?
So yeah, but it's what it is. Now you talk about the votes. Kent deservedly got in. Once again, Clemens and Bonds didn't get in. They didn't even come close. They each got a handful of votes. There was a 16-person committee. You needed 12 votes out of the 16 to get in. And Don Mattingly only got 6. And we were led to believe that this could finally be Don Mattingly's time to get in. And what was disappointing, not so much that he didn't get in, that he didn't even come close to getting in. He only got 6 votes out of the required 12, the 16 he needed. Had Donnie Baseball gotten 10 votes, we figure his day's eventually going to come. But now that he only got 6 votes, you're kind of wondering a little bit.
Well, he'll stay on this ballot. 6 votes keeps him on. But again, I'm beginning to wonder if he's ever going to get past that number. I mean, Carlos Delgado gets 9 votes and Don gets 6. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. But Clemens,
I know it's the longevity thing, which gets everybody. But Donnie Mattingly was the best player in baseball for 5 years in the 80s. And if you look at his overall numbers, they're as good as Kirby Puckett, who's in the Hall of Fame. I'm flabbergasted. I am with Dale Murphy, too. 2-time back-to-back, I think, MVPs, correct?
Yeah. Murphy and Mattingly are very close, I think, who deserves to get in. I think the two of them are close. I mean, I don't think Fernando Valenzuela is a Hall of Famer. I know he created a big buzz, but I'm willing at least to give Fernando Valenzuela more of a look than I've done. I'd be willing to give him a long look if someone wants to sit down and talk with me about him. Carlos Delgado, I just don't think quite, Hall of Fame. Yet he got 9 votes.
I wonder what Fernando get.
Fernando, I think got like 5.
Yeah.
Someone was advocating for Delgado. But the thing about Clemens, especially Clemens more than Bonds, Clemens, even though, let's be honest about it, the majority of people feel, he used the PEDs and all that. The majority of people feel that way. He was never he never admitted to using it. They never conclusively had evidence that he used it. It's all speculation, very powerful speculation, and we can all believe what we want. We can all believe Clemens cheated, but we don't quite have the evidence to convict. And because we don't have the evidence to convict, we've got to quit, basically, and put him in the Hall of Fame, even if
I don't care.
feel a certain way.
You can't have a Hall of Fame without Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds. I'm sorry, you can't. And I don't. If they did it, and you tell their story. They were. They
wanted suspicion at the time. Why wasn't anything done at the time? Why is Bud Selig in the Hall of Fame? The commissioner who oversaw that. What a farce.
That's a great point. I mean, he looked the other way because he thought this was saving baseball, all the home runs and whatnot. And he turned a blind eye for a long time. All of baseball did until. And
another question at the time: was it illegal to use what they're accused of using? Was it illegal? I'm not talking about morally.
No, some of them
was illegal.
Yeah, the guy who Bonds was involved with was put in jail for trafficking the drugs that Bonds was getting. So yeah, it was illegal.
But look at the guys who are in the Hall of Fame who are under suspicion. Okay, there's a couple of catchers in there who are under suspicion. Listen. Mike Piazza, I'm not saying he used it at all, not at all. I mean, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. So let me make that clear. But it took him until his 4th year to get in. Mike Piazza was arguably the greatest hitting catcher in Major League history. So how does it take him to the 4th year to get into the Hall of Fame? Unless he was under suspicion. If he was under suspicion, why was he eventually voted in and the others aren't? I mean, and again, I'm willing to. I would have voted for Piazza to get in.
Ortiz is another guy who had all kinds of suspicion shot his way, and he got in fairly easily, actually. So I don't get because those guys were the face, right? Bonds and Sosa and McGuire and Clemens. Those are the face of steroids, and they're never going to get in because of it. And these veteran committees, when you're having, and I'm not saying they're entitled to their thoughts. The Fergie Jenkins and Jim Kotz and Marichals and Ozzie Smiths who all have spoken out and said, we don't want PED users in the Hall of Fame. You got very little chance of ever getting in on these veteran committees until these guys maybe are dead and gone and you got your own contemporaries vote.
Those guys, I hate to say it, but are they really qualified to vote? Do they really study the players? I mean, maybe they're more qualified because they're contemporaries of some of the other guys. I don't know.
I think some of them are, but I mean, Lon Marshall's like 100 years old. Should he be on this committee? I mean, come on. I'm not.
Why not Sandy Koufax on that committee? I don't know.
Robin Yount, Alan Trammell. How about how is Artie Moreno on this freaking committee? He can't run the Angels, but he can decide who belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Well, Bill Beck, we have to go shortly, but when he wanted Harold Baines to get in the Hall of Fame, he went out of his way. There was behind-the-scenes politics.
Yeah.
And what can I say? But Bonds and Clemens, you dislike them all you want, call them cheaters all you want, but they absolutely belong in the Hall.
100%. A couple of quick quotes. I want to ask you about some boxing real quick. Keith, I got a great point. I should put that up. It shouldn't matter. Murphy and Kirby won championships. Good point. And Donnie's being penalized for that. If he'd won 2 championships, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. Before we go, great show. You got the Glove Fist tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern with Frank. And any boxing news you want to bring our way?
Yeah, there were fights this past weekend. Lamont Roach and Isaac Pitbull Cruz fought to a draw. Roach's second draw in a row in a high-profile fight. The first one was against Tank Davis, who has out of the ring issues, so we don't know when we'll see him fight again. We're going to start beating the drums for the December 19th fight between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. And Paul is bringing in some named sparring partners, quality heavyweights he's been sparring with. One of them gave him a black eye in a session a couple of days ago. So that's going to be interesting, Joshua and Paul. There's no way Paul should win the fight unless he lands a lucky right hand over the top. But, it's going to be an event. It'll be on Netflix.
I'll try to remember to go in and try to share the show tonight, Danny, when they come on live. Jack can't do that. Jack is a little technology.
Jack's not tech savvy at all, Danny. I'm an old timers and not tech savvy. You got to understand that we're not tech savvy.
One more Glove Fish quick.
I bought a car. It's just to let you know, and the guy's showing me all the features. I bought a new car a little over a week ago. He's showing me all the features, the salesman at the end. And he says, well, my parents have this car. And I said, did they understand all this technology? He says, no, I always have to explain it to them all the time. I said, so I'm not going to remember everything you're telling me.
Jack also asked where the 8-track tape player was in his car.
Yeah.
That's a different story.
My boombox.
I have one more question about Glove Fist before we go. What's the over and under on how long the show will go before you start talking about boxing and not the college football playoff with Frank?
Well, no, Frank always starts off talking about football, but, he hates his own team, the Miami Dolphins. He hates Ohio State, the Eagles, but I'm going to have fun. The Dolphins won 4 in a row, and you see these screens that they say the teams that are in the hunt. So I'm going to keep pounding away the way the Dolphins are in the hunt, to make the playoffs and maybe make a Super Bowl run. And he doesn't have patience to hear that about his own team.
So tune into
the Jets. By the way, the Jets are in the hunt for the number 1 overall selection in the draft. So we're in the hunt.
Tune into Glove Fist tonight and get like 14 minutes of boxing probably tonight.
Yeah, well.
Just kidding.
In the beginning, he talks football, then we get to boxing. I have to. It
is a great boxing show. Frank and Jack are great together, and you guys are missing out if you don't go catch them. So do that. You can catch that on National Streaming Sports on YouTube and wherever Brian's sharing it on Facebook. He's got to tell me where it is. Besides, I'll find it somewhere though. All right, guys. Thanks for having us this morning. Thanks for a lot of talk about it. We tried to fit a lot in. I tried to get all your comments in. It's hard sometimes, and you guys are so great about posting them. Jack, I'll see you Friday morning. We'll be talking more football and maybe some boxing with this fight coming up. Jack, thank you. You guys have a great week. Check out tonight. I'll see you Wednesday with the College Football Huddle. Bye-bye.